What's up, Southwest Virginia? Welcome to Beats, Brews, and Buddies. I'm your host, Travis Schmidt.
And I'm Jeremy Price.
It is Jeremy Price, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me get some words.
Oh, do it. Just do it. Oh, boy. Today, our beat is going to be about friendship. It's just going to be about friendship. We're going to talk about friendship because our buddy is our first guest who both Jeremy and I have both played music with in this town. So
for a significant amount of time.
Give it up for Michael Havens.
I'm sorry for that. Sorry.
No, you're here.
You are. And we're sorry too.
What do we decide to call this episode?
We're calling it Misbehavens.
Oh, man.
What's our drink today? Do you even know?
I do not know.
Oh, it's a honey whiskey. Good thing I'm on top of it, ladies and gentlemen. Honey whiskey by Jack Daniels mixed with a little bit of Coke. A cola. Coca-Cola.
Thank you, Travis.
So, thank you. So, Mike, you were born and raised in Roanoke, Virginia. You surrounded yourself with music from an early age, from your grandparents, it looks like, on both sides of your family, as well as other family members who had played either piano or guitar. Your sister, her taste in music and the family record collection was another key feature in developing your taste in music. But by the age of 12, he received his first guitar and quickly began to learn both through his own experimentation as well as guitar lessons through local musician and guitarist Tim Martin. There was no question that he would end up heading to college to study music and guitar. In 1992, he received his bachelor's degree in classical guitar performance from Radford University, where he studied under the direction of Dr. Robert Trent. Upon graduation, he was awarded a full scholarship for study towards a master's degree at Clare Callahan at the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. Did I get all that right?
Actually, all that's right, except the date. It wasn't 92. It says 92 on there that I got my degree, but it was actually 90 something else.
Okay.
98.
That's cool. It was in the 90s. It was in the 90s.
90, because I graduated high school in 93. So I did.
Well, good for you for going to college after you immediately graduated high school.
I went as a junior.
Like the master's degree.
And
right?
finished.
I know. So after 2 years in Cincinnati, you returned to Roanoke and began teaching guitar studies at local colleges and universities, including Radford, which is cool that you went back to your alma mater. Emory and Henry, Sweetbriar, Randolph-Macon Women's College, and Lynchburg College.
There's more.
I know. And then in 2008,
God, there's more.
He was offered and continues a full-time teaching position, beginning to advance guitar studies as well as electronic music and music production at Patrick Henry High School here in Roanoke, Virginia. He also teaches private guitar instruction. Mike performs regularly as an acoustic and classical guitar soloist. He is a member of the classical guitar and flute duo, I'm going to let you say that, Con
Eleganza.
What? How come I don't know that?
I know.
I don't know.
I didn't know
Kids.
that. I didn't
We
know
got
your name.
All right.
And a guest guitarist for the Roanoke Symphony Orchestra. He plays Santa Claus. Lead guitar player in local bands and is the guitarist and bassist for Roanoke's Mill Mountain Theater. On top of staying busy performing music around the Roanoke Valley, Mike enjoys spending time at home with his wife, Lisa, and their 4 cats. His daughter, Dorian, is currently away at college pursuing a degree in media arts and design.
Man, get out of here with all that. Where is she going to school?
Pretty much wraps up the podcast.
It is.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Havens.
But for real, where's Dorian go to school?
She's at James Madison.
God, it's so old.
She is crushing it. We are over the moon proud. Honestly.
She's extremely talented too.
Oh, yeah, and Ryan, you'll take up on this too. She's been doing this photography stuff and recently took some photos of her boyfriend's handball team. And the university caught wind of it. They really liked it. It's been posted on social media, some of the pictures that she took. And then the men's Olympic handball team for the United States picked up on that, put it on their social media, and gave her credit.
Oh, that's cool. That's wild. That's
yeah,
crazy.
man.
Just happened in the last week or so.
For those of you that don't know Ryan is our new musical production manager here at Beats, Brews, and Buddies.
Production manager.
Yeah. Oh, not music. Yeah, production. Yeah. That Mike is just randomly calling out. But we're going to welcome Ryan Hunt to our show as well.
We've had a really solid response to the podcast so far. far, and the promo we did, which was off the cuff, we put that together in a matter of hours. We just thought we would post the highlights, like at least 8 to 10 minutes of highlights. If you only have time, watch those, get to know the community in
Short
Roanoke.
attention span people.
Short attention span, like myself. And if you want to dig deeper, listen to the whole podcast. But Ryan's here.
So Mike, you are, like I said earlier, you're our first guest that both of us have played with. Let's start there. Why don't you tell us how much you love or hate us? No.
Whoa. Hold on. I need to back up for a little bit.
Please do.
I'm mad at Dory being old enough for college. I'm mad at handball. I'm mad I haven't seen Mike in a while. I'm mad at you. But then I can't be mad at anything because of that video story with her stuff. So where did they put it? They put it on their Facebook. The Olympic handball team put it on their Facebook, or
I think so. It was like that on Instagram. Just posted.
Well, I'm mad that I can't be mad at any of it because of all that. And congratulations.
She's killing.
Yeah,
we're very pleased.
I think about you a lot because I'm raising one, and she's 5.
Yes, you are.
Going on 35. And I think about the last times we played together and how she was running around and we were hanging out.
Which is ridiculous because when you were with us, she was like this tall.
She was
dancing around with us on stage, grabbing the mic and doing crazy noises and stuff. And now, like, your daughter's the same age.
My daughter's just behind, around the same age. And here she is in college. And that has felt like a snap of the finger, a blink of the eye, whatever you want to say. Yeah. And I know it's going to happen to me as well. And then we're going to, hopefully the next time we do this, it'll be on a porch with more whiskey.
What I find interesting about that is that pretty much after you finish with Mike, I pick up Mike. Is that correct?
It makes him sound like a rag, but I think that's correct.
I think it's right. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure I picked it up.
I'm done with Mike.
Sorry for the leftovers, Travis.
Nope. I loved it. I've loved every minute of it. We're going strong. 2000, whatever it was, to 20 now. So,
20 now.
20 now.
20 now.
20
nice.
now. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about playing music with the drummers of Brews, and Buddies.
Wow. Yeah. Hold on. With Travis and I.
Yeah, that's easier.
Actually, I don't really want to know. Do you really want to know?
I do want to know. I purposely didn't write that question down because
you knew I'd veto it?
Correct.
I'd be like,
and that's what I'm here for, ladies.
Well, we were just talking about how we get through all 5 questions. Miraculously, we don't understand how because we just end up talking and telling stories and stuff. But go ahead. Question 1.
Well, Suitor. Nah, it's so different, though, between the two things because, Jeremy, with you, I mean, Ingenue was, I don't know, how do you describe Ingenue? It was kind of acoustic rock, out of the box kind of thing.
As I get older, I find that less words reach further. I would say acoustic rock.
All right.
When you're younger, you start explaining all the nuance and then you're just explaining how it feels to you, and that's not worth. It's only worth so much to the listener. So it was definitely acoustic rock. I enjoyed it because you played with the drum machine, and I was mostly percussion. Later on, we added elements of the kit, and I really like playing with a drum machine. Personally, I know a lot of drummers that hate it, but I liked it, and I got to explore that, and I got to be more salt and pepper. And I
remember you saying that you did comment on how much you enjoy doing that.
At least I'm consistent.
Yeah, no, it was good.
So yeah, that's my take of it. But I mean, we played together for a long time, and you guys kept me alive when I was in Las Vegas, flying back home to play music here while I was living in Las Vegas, which is interesting.
What year was that you started with this?
8, 9, 10 is that era. If I have to put a number,
somewhere in there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's acoustic rock, and I had a blast, and we played. This town supported it, and you and Chris booked those shows, and I'm forever thankful. It kept my house alive there in Vegas, kept my house alive here in Roanoke. So,
we had a good time. We had a really good time.
I think that's important for listeners to hear, and one of the reasons why I brought up the question because Jeremy and you guys were talking about that pre-show, and I think it's so important that there is a journey that we share together as musicians, and it might not always end well, but it needs to be appreciated no matter what it is. And like, I really appreciate that as my mentor and my teacher says that to you, who is now somebody that I play with musically currently. And I think it's really cool to see where we kind of come and go and where it's going to end up. Yeah. All right. Hit me with your best shot. You answered him.
Well, let's see. That was Pat Benatar, 19. Yeah. Well, you came in, Travis, and what was really cool about that, was your persistenceness. Is that a word?
Persistence.
Sounds like a Rob Dyrdek show.
Because Chris and I just called it quits. I mean, we were done, and I was pretty much done with acoustic playing too. I've been doing this thing from like 2000, 2001 with Chris, all the way up until 2012 or whatever, when we finally called it quits. Chris moved off, and the last thing I wanted to do was get involved with acoustics, and here comes Travis at work. Hey, let's do some of these tunes and stuff. And I know some of those Dave Matthews tunes, and let's do some of this. And I'm going, yeah, I didn't want to. I got to be honest. I did not want to do it, but you were very persistent. We got to do this thing. We got to get playing, and we got to do something. Come on, let's just try this out. I'm glad you did, because we did. We got things together, and it started acoustic, and then it was the first and only opportunity I've had to phase in playing electric guitar. We just didn't do that in Entre Nous. That was something that we talked about. The recordings actually used a couple of electric guitars, but we never did it live because I just felt like that was going to be weird. Just out of nowhere, here's an electric guitar on this tune, and there's no bass or anything. And but once you and I met with Laura, and we started that little trio thing, and then suddenly there was a drummer, suddenly there was a bass player, and then there was a keyboard player, and then there was like 8 people standing there on the stage, and it was just.
It's a lot of people in a band, man.
It was Toto, like real quick. It became Toto.
It was Toto.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm glad I was persistent too. Like, I've always found myself gravitating towards people I admire and talent, and you and Jeremy have been, those two people majorly recently and previously for me. And so
you actually were at the very last Entre Nous
I did.
gig.
I played Wonderwall because he wanted to get a drink, and Jeremy did, and so he's like, "You want to play?" And he was like looking at me while I was sitting there watching him, and I was like, "I'll play." And so I got up on there, and then I played like another song.
It's very fitting because the last gig of Entre Nous was at the Coffee Pot.
It was.
There was no one there. I think Travis was there. And that was it.
I was.
I think it was just Travis and the guy that was at the bar that owned the place or half owned it, or the son. It was the son. I know this guy, Jamie. He was there, and Travis came up and sat in for you when you went to get a drink, and we played out the rest of the set, and Chris and I said, all right.
I don't know if that's meant to be comedy, but I don't even remember if it's true.
Because the night before that, you weren't with us. Chris and I played at the Brambleton Deli. It was packed. It was a really good show, and I went, this is a bad idea to have 2 gigs that are just basically half a mile from each other, and then, night right after the next night. And I'm like, there's nobody's going to show up tomorrow. And nobody did.
There was like
but
10 people. There was 10 people.
I don't know. Well, okay. I'll give you 5.
Sure.
We'll meet halfway.
All right. I remember that night. That was a fun night. I walked out of there enjoying myself.
I mean, it's important to note that there are 2 venues, the Brambleton Deli and the Coffee Pot, that are about half a mile or a mile
Throw
away
a rock
from
to one from the other.
Yeah. And, which is why we're here doing what we're doing. And that's not even downtown. That's over on like the south side of town.
419.
Yeah, it gets a little strip mall-esque over there, and there are venues, man, and that's where we come from.
There are venues. You just got to know.
You guys played Brambleton Deli a lot. Was that one of? Would you guys consider that home base almost for Entre Nous?
I would consider it home.
Yeah,
literal home, not home base. No,
because when they booked this, I mean, we were easy enough to fit. Well, in the beginning, we were easy enough to fit 2 or 3 of us on that little tiny corner stage, and then Chris and I started, creating the Motley Crue stage, where it's funny because every time, and this is before you would even show up if you were at the gig or not, Chris and I would start walking all the gear in from the truck, and we'd be bringing stuff in, and the bartenders always said the same thing: "Is it just the 2 of you, right?" Yeah, and they look at all this stuff, and they go, okay, and then Chris and I would set up a truss thing with lights on it and cloths hanging down and a disco ball and smoke machines. And like, what are y'all playing?
Good times.
And like they used to have this TV on. Remember the big TV on a stand up in the corner that was always in the way? Mm-hmm. So we started making use of that thing. So we started bringing laptops, and we would plug into like the back of this TV, and we'd have our Entre Nous like logo and stuff on the TV, just to make use of the room that was up
self promotion right there. I mean, that's the way to use the room, right?
Oh, dude, we smoked that place up with the fog machines and stuff.
Literally smoked it up. It was great. It was great. Yeah. And there was a following. And you guys already had a following, and it was a following I wasn't used to. And then I joined, and there's some folks that I know very closely that started showing up to the shows, and it turned into a thing. And you want to talk about love-hate relationships. Like, my friends would be like, some of which, a lot of drummers, right? They would be like, "Do you like sitting up, all that stuff?" I said, no. Why do you do it? It's not because it looks good.
That's exactly what we said.
I mean, yeah, and it's a thing, but it was the consistency though with that group. It was like there were days where I rolled up, and be like, I hope we democratically decide not to bring in the light truss. That only happened maybe twice. Mike would be like, no, we just use half the truss. I'd be like, yep,
5 foot
half
section.
and then I ask myself, I'd be like, it's only 5 feet. Why am I bitching about 5 feet? Go get the 5 foot truss. I'm playing congas.
No, Chris and I live by the motto. It's like, if people don't remember who we were, the name, or even some of the songs we played, they're going to remember that we were there. One way or the other, they were going to remember that we were there.
And just so our viewers know, Chris is your brother-in-law.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Chris
No,
Underwood.
you're welcome.
Where's Chris, man? Let's talk about Chris for a second.
Chris up in Delaware. Chris is teaching University of Delaware and teaching trumpet and smacking it. It's doing great.
He's so trumpet right now.
He's very trumpet.
He's so trumpet. We got to get him down. Trumpet. Come on.
We're in the talks of him coming down. Chris and I haven't played any of those songs since that night at the coffee pot.
Wow.
So those songs have been buried since then, but we're talking about potentially, I don't want to jinx or anything, coming up this summer sometime. So we get a good Valhalla. If it goes down,
Game over.
Chris might be able to show up, do 5 or 6 ingenue tunes.
Game over.
It'd be weird.
I'll bring my bongos.
I'm playing. I'm playing with him.
Oh, I'll bring them. You playing?
No, I'm playing guitar. I'm playing guitar.
Guitar.
So
No, we need you on percussion. Both of you can show up and play percussion.
game over.
He knows the songs. You fill in auxiliary percussion.
Principal.
I don't even care.
Box.
So
I'm Tammy. You're Sherry.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. What if we
Have we
throw
started
it
the questions yet?
Not at all.
We did one. Didn't we do one?
We did number one actually.
We're gonna
No,
get
that's
it.
not right.
This is going to be an ongoing theme of making fun of Travis's OCD, and I'm okay with it, ladies and gentlemen.
Your question one was
If it wasn't for your OCD, we wouldn't be here doing this thing.
No. So let's start with my OCD. Let's talk about how the music you have performed since moving to Roanoke has shaped you as a musician, and talk about the different groups you've performed with, aka Jeremy and I. Finally, the differences between covers and originals music that you've worked on throughout the years. And I really want you to focus on that, because Entre Nous was very much a mix of cover and originals, if that's true. And then if you hear my dog barking in the background, I apologize.
It's Alfred.
And then House of Schmidt has been just straight covers. So
moving back to Roanoke, when I got back into town in 2001, it was, Lisa and I got married almost immediately. And for the first, it felt like a month or two, I didn't have anything. I mean, I was just sitting around. I think Lisa was kind of wondering, are you going to get a job anytime soon? but it's like immediately it happened, and I got these jobs teaching in all these different colleges and stuff. So like when it came to like musical gigs, I took anything that would show up.
Sure.
So I was playing as much classical stuff as I could get. I'd go up to the Homestead and play for 3 hours. I'd play a wedding here. And to be honest with you, the very first hookup that was kind of the biggest thing, the biggest start of the domino effect was meeting Julie Hickox of the Roanoke Symphony. She got in, she plays flute. And working with her and playing weddings, she became kind of the liaison and the contact and networking, person to get me into playing with Maestro Wiley, to hooking me up with Kevin Jones and doing those kind of musical reviews and stuff. Yep. She would get phone calls through the symphony, and then she just pass that stuff over to me, and it just really kind of snowballed into like I had to write down half of this stuff on here because I couldn't remember a lot of these things. But like most of the gigs that I started writing down, from like 2002, 2003, 4, 5. Most of them came because of Julie, one way or the other.
We need to make sure that we
reach out,
and we also tag her when we do this episode.
Oh, definitely. She's a huge part of why I'm able to do what I'm doing. Just a really true, like, wonderful human being. And just played with her this past weekend. So that's, all the classical gigs. But like it just, like I said, it pushed me into like playing with Kevin Jones. I was playing musical stuff. I hadn't played musicals hardly at all. I got a gig. I don't remember how I got this one, but I ended up playing my very first full musical was at Washington and Lee, playing the musical Hair, which is cool because they told us in the band is that you're going to be on stage. You're on this like scaffolding. It's like about 6 to 8 feet in the air. And you could either be a hippie or a Hare Krishna to kind of blend in with what's going on stage. And I'm like, I got the long hair. I'm just going to be the hippie, So you had the beads around my neck and the little, circle glasses and so forth. And that was crazy. That was some of the best time, like right there, was just learning how to play with this 9-piece group of musicians on this scaffolding that would sway when the groove started getting there. I mean, it was crazy.
That's cool.
And so that started that whole thing. And then the second musical, Julie hooked me up with Maestro Wiley. They were doing Jesus Christ Superstar at the Civic Center. That was huge, man, because we filled the auditorium. It was a one-night only kind of thing. And I met this guy, Josh Harvey, that night. Actually, no, I take that back. That was the second time I got to work with Josh. And because he was in the musical Hair as well. But, so she kicked off all those kind of things. And then a little ways down the road, Opera Roanoke, they were doing the Barber Seville, which is like one of the only operas that, features a guitar player. So I got to play with them. Did that twice, one in 2003 and one just a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. And then been playing with the Roanoke Symphony, Mill Mountain Theater. So big variety of stuff.
Yeah. Did you think you were going to fall into the theatrical aspect of things?
No.
Me either.
Because I don't want to be involved in like just one thing. I can't, because I'll get bored too easy.
Yeah, I struggle with that too.
'Cause, like with the acoustic stuff. I mean, it was like all this Michael Hedges stuff, when I was in grad school. And then just as I moved back to Roanoke, I was doing that, and I did some solo acoustic stuff and actually wrote some originals that were all instrumental. And after a while, I'm like, I got to do something different. I want to play something else. So like I'll do the classical gigs, and then I'll go over here and play like a symphony gig, and then I'll go over here and play, this musicals and stuff. I mean, I never listened to musicals before. None, it was just, but now it's like, dude, I'm in, I'm all in, because they're so different, all of them. Some of them are very, Irving Berlin or something, and then some of them are more rock featured, like Hair was very rock featured. Those kind of things are fun for me, because you do it for maybe 2 to 4 weeks. You really put all your time and effort into it, and then boom, it's out of there. Gone. And you're like, good, now I can shake that off and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I like that. I actually need to hear that right now, to tell you the truth, because I do not prefer playing in those settings. I've learned tons from doing it.
Yeah,
don't prefer it.
Oh, it's a huge learning curve.
It's good to hear, though. You you pick it up, you put it down. You pick it up, you put it down. And which is an excellent exercise, emotionally and all that stuff.
Look at how much we've learned though through that, because you introduced me to Mill Mountain this past fall, and I loved it. And I've done theater stuff. We did at Hollins College. We did Godspell, which was so much fun. And then I've done the Kevin Jones stuff with you too. But
then Legally Blonde.
Yeah, then Legally Blonde with Mill Mountain, and it's been fantastic. It's just but it's so different than playing like live in front of when you're playing covers or your own stuff, in my opinion.
But it's also so cool when you're doing shows like that, and you're kind of playing with your buddies too at the same time. I mean, it changes the show.
No.
It's not just a professional environment. Like I've sat, like when I'm sitting in, with Opera Roanoke or something doing the Barber Seville, and there's all these people, and I know some of the people in there, but at the same time, it's very professional, and it's very this, and it's very that. But even in a pit that's still professional, I mean, we're in the pit. I mean, it's a blast down in there, and you're kind of covered, the audience doesn't really see you, and you're just having
There is a sense of like camaraderie and family that I felt, and I haven't felt that, other than, I don't even know if I felt that. No offense to my House of Schmidt mates, but I did feel that but as a leader, it's completely different. You had to be a different aspect in that. So like that was a cool feeling to be behind the set again, and then to feel part of a group and a part of that family. So thank you for
Oh no, you have to switch hats. Be the leader and turn off I'm everybody's buddy, but right now I got to kick everybody's butt. Yeah.
So, how hard or easy was it for you to get gigs with Entre Nous here in this town? Because you guys talked about that you guys were grinding. It sounded like you were grinding hard back in those days.
Yeah.
These dudes did absolutely all the legwork.
Chris and I went around and just we hit up people left and right all over the place. Once word kind of gets around, once you play a few places, I don't know if those places ever call the other places to see, hey, is this band worth it or whatever? Because we would just show up, I'd go to Awful Arthur's and go, what was that guy's name? Barry.
Yeah.
I
see him.
Have you seen him?
Yeah. He has a gait about him, a walk, and I don't notice him from his face because I maybe have said a word or two, but I notice him. I'm like, that guy books shows.
Yeah. But like we would go to him and offer live and just like going, listen, I need to get on the books. And sometimes he would be cool about it and go, yeah, okay, I'll give you 10 minutes right now and we'll do this. Or sometimes he'd say, look, just come back Thursday or something, you know. But when I did, I would walk. This is how long ago it was, because I would go in with my Palm Pilot. You know, and I would pencil in all these dates and stuff and try to figure out what we could do. And then I'd go back and check in with you guys. And well, I checked in with Chris. I didn't really check in with you. We just let Jeremy know. It's like, okay, Jeremy, we got a gig, so you can either be there or not. And he's like going, yeah, okay. Well,
I mean, the beautiful thing about playing with you guys and that drum machine, which wasn't just a drum machine. Like Mike would, I assume you did all the programming.
Yes, sir.
The programming, there were also bass lines in there. If I wasn't there, it wasn't like it wasn't going to happen. So, you know, you find yourself in some, how do I phrase it? Some backup plan gigs, some backdoor gigs. Like if I didn't show up, the gig still happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which wasn't intentional by any means. That's what it was.
It's really funny because there were many gigs though where Chris and I would show up and we'd be setting stuff up and, you know, we'd be talking about this and that, whatever. And then we go, oh, hey, is Jeremy coming tonight? And Chris would be like, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in 2 weeks. Well, all right, well, just leave a little room back there, and if he shows up, he shows up. I mean, it was just that's how nonchalant and cool it was, because we weren't like going, oh my gosh, is he gonna be here? Because, you know, we got a gig in like 2 hours. It was never like that.
Yeah.
Chris and I were. I mean, that was one of the things about Entrepreneur. It was so laid back. I mean, we would set everything up middle of the day. We would go back to the house, pop all the strings off the guitar, restring the guitars right there, eat some dinner, and go, all right, put your jeans on, let's go. You know, and we'd go back to the gig, and we just wait until it was like, let's go ahead and start.
That sounds so familiar.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what we did with House of Schmidt. So.
In the beginning.
Yeah, no, true.
Then there was a little bit of stress that got involved. As we got 8 people and a huge sound system and all that stuff, it got a little bit more stressful. But not that it was bad, just more stress. But like Chris and I mean, we just, again, it was, you know, we were going, I learned that from Tim Martin years ago, because in the very beginning stages, we go back to that question about booking gigs and stuff. You know, when Chris and I would play, I mean, we would go up there and we would just go hard, full 110%. And then we'd finish a song, and like you just hear people talking, and there'd be one guy in the back, oh, that's good. You know, I'm going, oh shit, man, look, I just busted ass, and that guy won't put down his chicken sandwich. So, and I mentioned that. Hang on, I mentioned this to Tim Martin. Tim Martin said, listen, if it's anything, because I looked up to the guy. I mean, the guy was my guitar teacher when I was like 13 or 14. And then, you know, I knew that he was playing music. You know, he would play 2-3 times a week at all these different places. And, you know, he just said, you know, is kind of my mentor. He said, listen, you got to let people know that you're here to play. You can't be, if you're going to be background music, then just do what you're doing. He said, but you've got to be loud enough so that people have to know that there's a band in the house. And I went, okay, that we're going to go with. So Chris and I did a couple of things. You know, the drum machine was one thing, but we upped the ante with the subwoofer. We added these octave bass pedals to our acoustic guitars. We added lights. We added a disco ball, a fog machine. I mean, we just went stupid, and
they did,
and people showed up. And then we added Jeremy, and then it went to a whole different level.
Before we go there, how many of these questions have we done?
3.
We're still on 1.
My OCD's kicking.
I feel like we're on 1.
Man, I watched on the clock. I think we need to talk about Tim Martin.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't know. So the first time I ever saw you, and I don't know why I remember seeing you, either ugly or pretty. So do whatever you want with that. My friend, a guy named Matt Potter, took lessons from Tim Martin for many, many years at Leeds. And Matt is no longer with us. One of my best friends, man. He died several years ago when I was about to go out on one of my last tours with Stomp. I got the information right when I was leaving. I'm talking about 24 hours before.
Right.
And, you know, his family lives probably 3 miles from where we sit now. And the only acoustic guitar I still own, Matt Potter's dad gave me. Wow. But he took that particular guitar into Tim's lesson studio at Leeds. And so I would go there, and you were just like hotshot guitar player. Now, I want it to be known, I didn't know what a hotshot guitar player was, because I come from a more hip-hop background until I hung out with the family of the Potters. And that's where I met you. And anytime somebody
Well, you met me at Leeds?
At Leeds, you don't know this. You might not know this till right now.
Because I know, guys, I worked at Leeds for years.
But you were you were the fancy, well, let's just say you're the Van Halen guy. So whenever somebody would come in wanted to learn.
Stunt guitar player.
Called it one time. when someone came in, when someone wanted to learn Hot for Teacher, Tim would walk out. I saw this happen. I want to be conservative. I saw this happen 2 times for sure. I want to say 3 or 4. Matt went in one day. He's like, I want to learn how to play Hot for Teacher. And Tim was like, I want to go get Mike. And he would come and get you from the lesson. You go back and show people how to play Hot for Teacher. And I was like, that's probably why I remember you. Because it wasn't pretty or ugly. You were just Hot for Teacher. And I was like, who's it? And I was like, how's this young dude know how to play Hot for Teacher? And obviously I didn't know anything. But
that is really weird that you say that, because that just jogged a really weird memory of Tim calling me. But I do remember something.
He did it several times, Mike. And I'll be like, who's this dude? Like, Hot for Teacher. I'm all of like 13 years old. And I'm like, I'll think the guitar part's hard. Anyway, I saw him. He was playing in Salem in the past 6 months, and he was sitting down in between sets, and I went and talked to him. He's like, I do remember you. I don't know where his health is at the moment, but the man has taught so many people to play in this town, you being one of them, Matt being one of them. He taught me because I did more of Matt's lessons than I think Matt did.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that I can fake guitar.
Nice.
So he needs to come in.
Yeah.
If he's around, or we need to make mention of him.
Did you know that the I don't even remember how many years ago, probably 6 or 7, that you guys still were giving lessons in the studio?
He's still there.
Is he still there?
Yeah, he's still in that studio. And
how's he doing?
Now, you remember the studio because that was the first time you rehearsed with us. It was down in that little basement studio. But
so I became his drum lesson instructor there.
Okay.
In that studio
for a little while, yeah.
Right after I met Mike, and I had like 4 to 6 kids, if I remember correctly, that I would come in twice a week for. Tim has shaped this valley in a sense.
Most certainly.
Quite a bit.
And he's a beacon. If not more, he's definitely a beacon, and he should come in, or we should just make more mention of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
We used to go watch him play. Matt's dad would take us to play and talk about, and I always wondered this, because you were so savvy with the drum machine, the Zoom. I ended up buying one. I never used it.
I still have it.
The Zoom with the bass lines.
It's still programmed too. I've still got all the songs.
It's going to play at the end of the podcast. So I wondered, because you guys are in such close proximity, if that's where you got those ideas, or that's maybe where you modeled some of it from. And that's not a question yet, but this guy was Martin and Wilbur were killer at this stuff. And Tim, I would go watch Tim play, and the drum machine, I don't know if it was mixed well, his programming, I just never thought about it. I never sat there as a musician going, oh, well, he's got some backing tracks. And he had a song called You Picked a Dreamer, and I can sing you the melody right now, and I'm not going to.
I got it too.
We got to get this guy in here.
I've got his CD and a cassette that's got that song on it, and that's one of his originals from years back. But he's, and I used to watch Tim play all the time, and I know that he used the same drum machine for years. I mean, like way beyond when all the new technology had come out, he was still using one of those really, really old Roland drum machines for years, and he had the best way of making it just be right underneath the mix of the guitar and vocals. And it wasn't a crutch or anything. It was just an addition to what he was playing every single night, because he did solo stuff. And then, I mean, nowadays, Tim's got so many different avenues. I mean, I don't know how much he's doing now post-COVID, because I know a lot of things stopped for him for playing gigs. But, prior to that, I mean, he was doing the other stuff with his other friend, Brian. And he's been doing stuff in and out of the Kings, for years.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim's can do it. But, the other wonderful thing about Tim never stops learning. You figure after all these years and just teaching everybody in this valley, I found out not too long ago, Tim's still kind of learning from other people in the valley. He's been working on, learning jazz guitar. And the last couple times that I talked to him, I mean, that was one of his big things was learning jazz. And I'm trying to remember now who he was studying with, but he's actually got a guy that's just showing him some things on the side. And that says a lot too about just being a musician. It doesn't matter. You get to a certain point, you just don't stop. There's too much stuff out there to learn. No, Neil Peart, from Rush, didn't stop. He took jazz drum lessons there after 40 years of playing and however many albums sold and stuff, and said, hey, wait a minute, I can redo my technique and try this whole thing differently. And
Stay a student.
yeah,
No, I mean, and I'm glad you said that, because that's something we've talked about pretty much with almost every guest that we've had on here. Is just, we really want to encourage people to continue to learn and just be open to learning and growing. I mean, that's a big point to this podcast.
We talked about that a minute ago about taking on all these different gigs, and I just took on this. I'm playing with a Celtic group at the end of the month. Did I tell you about this?
You did. You were telling me about it the other day, and I think it's
no
awesome.
idea what I'm doing.
No, it's great though.
Yeah, I mean,
it's great.
David Lips, who's another big music person in this valley right now. Dave Lips came to me and said, we got this Celtic thing. It's the Second Wind group, and they've been doing Celtic music in this valley for decades, right?
They really have.
They have.
Yep.
And he's like, we need some people to fill in. He's like, could you help out? And it's right at the end of March. And I'm like, I got a weekend before we start to, in the Heights at Mill Mountain. I was like, sure, let's do this. It's all 6/8, and it's all just like, sea shanties and fun little sing-alongs. I'm just playing bass for like 90% of it, throw a guitar part in once or twice and just throwing some chords. But I mean, they've got this gig down. It's just a matter of going through the notebook and knowing when they're going to go back and repeat section A and how many times, do B 4 times and back to A only 2.5. And then call it. And I'm going, okay, Yeah. So I'm just going to watch everybody and play. But that's a learning experience. It's me stepping out of the comfort zone and going,
well, Mike, that leads me to my next question. Describe what it's like to play and perform music that you don't typically like to listen to and maybe even enjoy, considering how much you perform.
Hold on. That's a hell of a question. I'm serious.
It is.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I do this.
He's
very
holding
thing.
me right now.
It's a good question. And maybe we've mentioned it on other podcasts, but there are times where you just love music so much that you're going to jump into some music and you're going to figure out that you don't really like this particular music. And not because you can't play it, because it doesn't vibe with me.
Yeah.
There's a vibration before you're going to jump in and devote your life to music, right? There are several different musical vibrations you can be a part of. But anyway, sorry, it was a hell of a question.
Well, it's true. But I mean, at the same time, though, I don't know if I would have said yes had there not been anybody in that group that I didn't know. You know what I mean?
So that brings it back to the collaboration piece.
Right.
That we talk about.
Right. I'm Dave. I know Dave. And there was a drummer that was going to be a part of it that he can't be there. There's some health issues there, but he can't be there. But I was excited about it, getting in and playing with some people that I know. But if there'd been nobody in that group that I didn't know, I probably would have said.
Well, I wasn't picking on just that genre of music, obviously.
But still, I mean, even when I got involved with Mill Mountain Theater or like the symphony and stuff, I mean, I knew people in and out of that symphony. I could walk into the symphony rehearsal pretty much, and they always have different musicians coming in and out. But anytime I step on that stage with that group of the Roanoke Symphony, I always know 2 or 3 people on that stage.
But you and I have had several conversations when we were doing House of Schmidt of songs that neither one of us liked to play, but we were like, oh my God, did you see how many people got up on that dance floor though too? Right? And
so that goes back to Ingenue.
So and that's why I'm bringing it up.
See, Chris and I battled with that for a long time, and we learned over that, I don't know how many years, 10, 12 years or so that we played really seriously, that choosing music in a town like this it's crucial. You can't mess it up. You got to be careful about what kind of music you choose. And Chris and I had this thing about, like, we wanted originals. Chris had originals already. He was always kind of kicking out little ideas and stuff. My job was to take those ideas and kind of help arrange them a little bit better, put them in a song form, and then add the little nuances and things that I did. But when it came to doing, we knew we had to do cover tunes. But Chris and I both, he's got his style of music that he was into and mine. We met up on a few different places, but at the same time, it was very different. So we had to choose things that we liked. But then there's that trade-off in a valley like this. You got to play something that people are going to get into. And it was like, okay, we're not going to just run out there and play the first hit that everybody expects a cover band to play. We didn't want to do that. Like, let's give them something they know, but let's put a twist on it a little bit. I mean, who the hell plays Staying Alive on acoustic guitars?
You do.
We do, right?
You.
And we chose Brick House, and we chose, what was it, Superstition, and those kind of things.
Fame was a big one that you guys played.
And then we did Fame too. But, we did them in ways that were like, okay, these guys are going to do this on acoustic, but not just strumming chords, singing the songs. I mean, we were trying to pull off the riffs. Remember playing Ice Cream Man?
I do.
I'm trying to do the Eddie Van Halen Ice Cream Man solo on acoustic. It's stupid, but it works.
Arguably, I don't know how this is gonna make you feel, but that's why we're here. Arguably, one of the most impressive things that you did, because I would have people be like, "He really played Ice Cream Man on acoustic." And I'm like, "Yeah, I got other things to do when I'm at home." But I mean, it's harder to play that on acoustic, and I'm not trying to stroke your ego here. Wasn't missing anything. It wasn't missing distortion. It wasn't missing back. It wasn't missing. It was like that. That's how that goes. And it's oftentimes when you play things on acoustic guitar, you're going to modify tunes or arrange them, not just rearrange their structure, but you might arrange them differently for whatever instrument you have in your hand, whatever medium that is.
Right.
You didn't, not to my knowledge. Now I don't know Van Halen as well as you do, but to my knowledge, I was like, that's a damn solo. That's how I would feel.
It was the solo, but it was an octave lower. Which made my finger stretch even further. It got to hurt, but
for me, I'm smacking some 2s and 4s on a quinto, which is the higher conga, and my job was to just observe. And I was like, wow.
But we did.
That's all right.
We struggled. Chris and I had, I won't say arguments. I mean, we got into a couple times that we shouldn't do this or we should do that or whatever, but that taught me more over that decade or so of what really works in this area, and what at the same time as my wife would go, you guys really ought to play this and stuff, and I'm going, yeah, but here's the thing, we could go out there. I've seen other musicians go out there and just jukebox to the crowd. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go, hey, what do you guys want to hear tonight? Play Sublime again. No, I don't want to go into that thing. So Travis, and you'll know this best too, so like in House of Schmidt, when we would sit down and have these talks about songs, a lot of times, the first things that would hit the table are like, you mentioned a band, and you can mention 3 songs by any one band, and that's going to be on the table right there. It's going to be one of those 3 songs. And I'm going, there's that 4th song, Deep on Side B.
That guy.
I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Because look, and Travis, I've said this like probably 112 times, right? And as long as you've known me, I'm always like, listen, there's people in that audience that didn't go, oh crap, I remember that song, dude. Nobody plays this song, and that's what I wanted every single time.
And we did it really well with House of Schmidt.
We did, you guys, thankfully, were to the point where you'd say, yeah, let's let Mike have that.
I kept him, and it did keep you. It kept you interested for 8 years. You know, and there was we played for 8 years, 8 years, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's a testament to the collaboration that we brought together as a group and the decisions that we did make. Now that to that other end of that is how difficult it is to run that, and the collaboration that played the role with the friends.
Who's the new guy?
We were all friends and close, but we all had different ideas, and I think it's important for.
Well, that was the other thing.
Yeah,
because with that many people in the band and that many opinions or personalities that bring different things to the table, you almost kind of have to go, okay, let's do that song.
Yeah. And
it may be something I'm going, I don't like, the first time it was brought up to do, let's see, what's a good example? Like Tom Petty, American Girl.
Yeah.
I wasn't on board with that. I didn't think that song was strong enough, because I know the recordings, but what I have to sometimes stop myself and get into is go, okay, let's see how this band is going to make that sound.
Sure.
Because, so that's the other thing. When you choose a song, I think you got to be thinking about the group of people that are going to be playing this song.
You do.
Because not everybody can sing certain songs.
Correct.
Not everybody can play certain songs. And he's making notes.
And that, I'll be honest, that's something I'm glad you brought up, because that's something I learned from you, is that there is genres and pieces of music that fit certain people, and they do them really, really well. But if you're willing to work at things and grow and practice, you can still do those other things that you don't like really, really well too.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I think the tunes we did in house, they We did come to a few songs that didn't work out. We tried them. We agreed on them, and then we tried them and go, okay, this isn't working. But
the Jamiroquai song, man, I wanted to do that. I was like, no one does this. Let's do it.
But it didn't fit,
and it was so hard to sing. It just didn't. There was something missing. I remember the practices. We tried it twice. I was like, I tried to sing it, and then I got Laura to try to sing it, and it was just like, okay, this.
But what did worked. And the other great thing about that band was having, with that many people, everybody had their own families, their own set of friends and stuff. So when we did have the gigs, it wasn't like an open gig for the bar and the bar just packed a bunch of people. It was like having a family reunion to a degree. Everybody that we knew just showed up, and it's like, oh, look, I'm hitting crash cymbals. Everybody just kind of showed up. So we knew there's like, okay, there's going to be a built-in 100 people coming into this thing. That's just like people we all know and friends and family. Mm-hmm. So when we had like the New Year's Eve gigs, I mean, it's like you just look out and go, okay, I know that group of people. I know that group of people. I know those 4 groups in the back there. This group right here I've never seen before, but they're having a hell of a time. You must know them. You know those guys? Oh, yeah, you do. Okay, great.
Pods.
It just, that's exactly what it was.
And has it ever really been about the money for you?
Only in the very beginning.
My man's leading you to question 5, and we're going to get it in.
Is that the time already? Oh, look, I closed a ring on my watch.
No, seriously, has it ever really been about the money for you?
I know Travis said 2 drinks, but I'm going to make it 3.
Bring me a third one, because my second one's gone.
So I'm going to keep you entertained.
Seriously, you want to come get this? Oh, that's my dog. Thank you. So,
Jeremy.
Oh wow, this is a 3-drink show.
It is. So
3-drink.
Seriously.
No, in the very beginning stages, like I said, I took any gig I can get, and it was even if I was playing 3 hours at the Homestead for $150 or something. It was stupid amounts of money that were just like nobody should take that gig. But, in the beginning stages, I'm trying to get my foot in the door, and I'm trying to do the networking thing, which is a word that should have been mentioned at the beginning of the show, was networking, because we talk about collaborations.
Well, you alluded to it quite a bit.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the word should just be there. I mean, talking about like with Julie Hickox, I mean, she was my networking, like, person for just everybody that I've come to learn to play with and love playing with. But, after a while, once I was established and had a working job, once the, like when Roanoke City Schools made that phone call and I go, okay, there's a good gig, and there's a gig that's got benefits, and there's all these, it's a secure job, and it's a great job. I mean, bottom line, no matter what, complaints teachers have and all that stuff throughout the day, because you're right there with me. But, it's a great job, and it's got enough security that I can go and do whatever gigs and play a wedding and make $300 playing guitar, and that's great. 45 minutes, good, over with. Or I can play a House of Schmidt gig and play for 3 or 4 hours and only make $80.
Yeah.
And I don't care. It doesn't make a difference, because it's more nowadays. It's really a lot more about being.
So nowadays it's more supplemental, and not necessarily supplemental that you need it, but it's just nice to have on the side. If you were to
it's nice to break even at the bar at the end of the night. How about that?
No, so I'm glad you said that, because I know you've mentioned that to me personally a lot. Like, it's just nice to be paid as a musician, whether it's food and bar tab, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So tell our younger viewers who are listening that haven't gotten the chance to play these gigs and to be these professional musicians who are getting paid anywhere between 100 and 150 for 2 hours. What do you have any advice for them when they're grinding? Because you did say that it was in the beginning where it was like, okay, we're scraping the barrel. I need to hit it hard and do what I can to get whatever I can.
It doesn't matter what. The beginning is always hard.
Sure.
I mean, kids are in school now, and their first jobs are going to be working at Wendy's or something, or Kroger, bagging groceries, and that's fine. That's money that's coming in, and you take what you can get so you can support, pay a bill, or be able to buy gas or whatever you want. But down the road, it gets better. But every beginning has to. Oh, we're
clinkety,
cheering.
clinkety,
We're
clinkety.
All right, thank you guys. Every beginning has to start sort of modest.
Sure, I like it.
But and if you play your cards right, and if you network enough, those gigs, you can start going, okay, I'm worth a little bit more. I had the privilege of saying, I don't want to mention names in this town. I really
don't have to.
But I got booked for a gig, or I'm sorry, I take that back. I wasn't booked. I was called and approached about a gig, And they wanted me to drive a few hours away, play for only a couple hours for like, a certain amount of money that was just like, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. That's, it's a couple hours from here. You tell me you want to play for a couple hours and then I got to drive back and all that stuff. I said, I can stay in town, play a wedding for less than an hour and make twice that maybe. So it was nice to be able to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Because I feel like I'd made it to a point where I could now say, okay, I'm worth a little more than this.
That to me is a definition of becoming a well-known, popular, you don't have to call it professional, musician in the town that is respected, that you have the ability to say no.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a lot to get there. I am fortunately there where I'm able to say no, and I like it's I don't want it to come off strange, but I do like that power. I like having the ability to say no because of what I'm worth and the time that I put in and the person that I am when I go to play with somebody. And I know that both of you guys are that way too. It's like I know what I offer and I know what I'm gonna bring to the table.
But in most cases, I'm scared to say no.
Sure.
I don't know about you guys, but like I get to the point, like if I get a phone call, I don't want to say no because I don't want the next guy that follows in to take the gig and do well point. Enough because when they pick up the phone next time, they're going to go
to that guy.
To that guy.
Mike, that
scares me.
That's heavy, man. Because I consider you. Here I am.
What's the matter, Miss Piggy? Got a little frog in your throat?
Not gonna say what I was about to say. So, that might be what you just said. Might be why you're still working. You have all these opportunities, still doing all those things because you treat it that way. You still treat it as if you're new in a certain regard. You're not new. You just spent 3-4 minutes explaining you're not new, and you value yourself to a certain level. But you are concerned that someone else might take the gig. So in a certain sense, you're staying the student. You're staying appreciative of where you are. And I consider you a heavy in town. Like it's not, so I could be in any conversation, in any coffee shop. I could be at the mall. I can hear your name in a musical conversation. And that's because you've been around so long. Yeah. But it's good to know that you still view it.
You're saying I'm old.
Through that. No, I'm saying you're prominent. that you can view it through that lens, and that's why we hear your name.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, but that's earned though too, and in a sense, it is earned through the not saying the no, the opposite, and by pushing yourself to do different things and to play music you might not necessarily enjoy that you like listen to. And I think those are important for our viewers, especially our younger viewers and listeners, to hear. Because you don't necessarily always get a choice.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Very true.
I still feel bad about saying no. I forgot how you worded it, but this is what popped up. For me, like I still hate saying no, but in the past 2 years, I've really jumped on board the no train. But that's because what's on the other side of no is generally time with my daughter.
Oh yeah.
I can let go of the jazz gig that I'm going to fake because I'm not going to fake being dad for my daughter. Now, what I mean by that is I can play jazz fairly well, but there are other cats around. If you're going to call me, if I'm booking jazz, I know who I'm going to call. It's not me.
Yeah.
But if I got to play jazz immediately, I trust myself to get through it. But
if I get that call, I know that everybody else has already turned it down. I'm like going, you must have called 4 other people because I'm not the jazz guy.
Yeah, I can't wait till we get Jody in here too because I love his take on jazz. It was that man that taught me it was okay to not really like it as much.
Oh my God, Jody's a great guy.
But I spent so many years studying jazz independence just on drum kit, right? And I wouldn't go back and change anything. I still don't necessarily dig it. And I listen to more of it now than I ever have.
Yeah.
But it's a wave, right? It's a move.
Now, you and I had a little taste of it with Chris in Entre Nous. It wasn't actually, no, I take that back. It wasn't really Entre Nous. Now, do you remember this? Chris was doing a trumpet recital.
Yes.
In Winston-Salem. I think it was Winston-Salem.
Yep.
And we were doing, he did his recital, and then you and I were asked to come and play, not as Entre Nous material, but it was like on Chris Bodie, kind of like trumpet jazz kind of thing.
I thought that was Chris, by the way. I sent a message. I was like, bro, you don't even need to be in school right now. This is some tasty-ish. He was like, that's Chris Bodie. I'm like,
What is up?
But go ahead.
But no, I had fun with that stuff. I mean, that was really cool. It was just like because the three of us had that chemistry. So we knew how to read each other. But because that was a whole different bag than it was with Entre
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, there's this this overarching theme in music. Like, you're not a musician if you don't play jazz or classical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I fought it my whole life. I still struggle from time to time with the idea. And I think that is silly.
Yeah.
But there's so much to learn from both.
Oh yeah.
Both styles of music, and they should be appreciated. But it was anyway, we're just rambling now.
So, Mike, this is the point of the show. It's my favorite part of the show. It's called the Buddy Gauntlet. I'm going to let Jeremy take over, and we're going to ask you 3 different questions that you weren't privy to prior. So, get ready. Jeremy, hit him. Hit him with the Buddy Gauntlet.
Let's see what we got.
Travis, we're going to be messaging each other soon because I have another idea with this guy. I can't thank you enough for being here.
Yeah, Ryan, we're looking at Ryan, ladies and
We're looking
gentlemen.
at Ryan.
Thank you. You're welcome.
No, seriously.
He's like one of those guys at the side of the Howard Stern show that was always in the background. But every now and again would just say something.
Well, we're still in.
I might mic him next time. You never know.
We're
we
sub.
should.
Whatever you do, make it a room mic so he sounds like he's far away. Production. We're sub 10 episodes, and the response has been such that we wanted to add this, and this happened sub 5 episodes, what we call the Buddy Gauntlet. So you're the buddy. Okay. The Gauntlet are these questions I asked the first 2 or 3.
No, you asked them all 5.
Really?
You've asked them all 5 like nonchalantly. Yeah.
Okay, so listen, I love music. I want it to go away. Like, I want to wake up tomorrow and be like, all right, I've played music. I've traveled the world. I've done it. It's not happening.
No, it's not.
I love it. And I think I love it because I approach it from the deepest part of my being. And these questions come from the deepest part of my being, and I'm truly curious. Your top 3 influences of your musical career. No more.
No more than 3.
Yeah, have this argument with yourself. I like watching it.
But
it's hard to do.
It's not as hard as you think because I get asked this all the time from my students. So it's already kind of close. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so not as hard as we
somebody
thought.
came prepared.
I'm
the
just
gauntlet.
warming you up. That's the lube question. Go ahead.
Now, it's easy enough to say Eddie Van Halen, but
We've talked about that.
I'm not. But here's the thing, though. It's not just Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen created that style. So that when you take the Eddie Van Halen style and you apply it to like Vito Bratta from White Lion, or you apply it to Nuno Bettencourt from Extreme,
One of my favorites.
all of those guys to Mr. Big, Paul Gilbert, those guys right there have that Eddie Van Halen style, and that's what really perked me up growing up as a kid. That's
We
the
call
kind of
that
stuff.
the root.
He planted a seed.
root.
The root is on fire.
Oh man. So and then same exact scenario. So when you go to,
So can I write Eddie?
you can write Eddie style. No, you write Eddie style because that's exactly what it is. I grew up on Van Halen, but I grew up on everything that came out of Van Halen, because if you think about it, we wouldn't have happy metal, and you wouldn't have those guys like Nuno and Paul Gilbert and whatever else. Really,
Happy metal.
No, I'm serious.
Major metal.
Think about it. You take metal. When metal started, you had like Black Sabbath, and those guys always frowning and stuff. You take the Van Halens, and those guys smiled through every song they played, no matter what it was. It was a happy metal.
This is the happiest point for me in this podcast. But seriously, I wouldn't know this about you,
It's
and
a
it makes
style.
sense.
No. So then, like when you met me, I was going through my Michael Hedges phase of style.
So that numero dos.
So yeah, so numero dos would be the Michael Hedges thing, and Michael Hedges and his style of acoustic playing merged with what Chris was bringing to the table with Dave Matthews and the Tim Reynolds thing. Tim Reynolds for me was
That's my
it was a way for me to branch with Chris, because when Chris first came to me and said, Dave Matthews, and I'm like, I wasn't into it in the beginning.
Fair.
I truly wasn't. I listened to it on the way over here. It just pops up on my playlist all the time. But like I'm into it. But when Chris said Dave Matthews, he said, but here's this thing. They do this thing, him and Tim, and he's playing all this acoustic stuff. It was like, okay, that's cool. I get that. That style of music blended with this solo acoustic stuff on top of it. I'm in. That's cool for me. So there's your 2.
2. You got one more?
I'm glad we're making good time. I got stuff to say.
So a third musical influence. Is that
What'd
what
you say?
Musical influence.
I'll tell him.
Sorry.
I have to. This is going to be a weird answer. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
This is why we do it.
I have to say everybody I've played with.
I love it.
Now, no, it may sound corny, but
That includes me.
no, it does. My influences, for the past like 10 to 20 years have been the people I've played with, because it's been all those things we talked about earlier. I've played symphony shows and I've played Mill Mountain Theater musicals, and I'm playing classical gigs. I'm getting ready to play Celtic music coming up. I knew nothing about that stuff, but I'm learning all these things. Those influences are impacting me, and I figure that 5 to 10 years from now, I'm going to have those influences built up, and who knows? I mean, I may be playing the same that I am now, maybe playing different, maybe playing better. Hopefully I'm playing better. I'd like to think that I'm going to be playing better in 5 to 10 years.
Me too. Totally.
But I can't say that those influences are not going to have an impact on where I am in the next 5 to 10 years. So those two started the whole thing, the Eddie style and the Hedges stuff. But everything that's been going on the last 10 years and playing classical with Julie, I just played with her this past weekend. She and I never get together and rehearse anymore. We've been playing together since 2001. We don't have to get there. I showed up. This is the first time I've seen Julie in months. We sat down. We went, okay. And there's 70, people sitting in front of us at the Tama Museum for whatever that was going on. And I don't even know what's going on. There's just all these people packed in. And we just opened our iPads and go, okay, what are we playing? Okay, let's do that. So and then we just go right to it and start playing these. We played 30 straight minutes of a performance for these people, unrehearsed, no prior knowledge of what we were going to do. We just open the iPad and go to it. And it's glorious, and so she's influenced me, those kind of things, and she's like I said, pushed me into these other venues and outlets. So people I've played with, bar none.
I think I would answer it. That's good. That would be part of my answer if I had to say.
Is that why you threw your pen down?
Yeah,
angrily?
because chemistry gets left out, and this is chemistry. It's what I earlier in the podcast.
Yeah,
so you can do a song that you don't necessarily like, or you can do a song that you love with the wrong group of people, or something you don't like with the right group of people. You can take something you're not fond of with the right group of people and be like, you know what? I like it now.
That's it.
There's a chemistry. Again, it's like the fifth time I've said it this podcast. There's a vibration there. So you can take a song you actually don't appreciate, but get in the right group of people with the right instrumentation, right touch, tone, time, and texture, and go, I like it right now.
That was a lot of T's.
Yeah, I love it. T. So, chemistry. And you appreciate the chemistries that you've played with, and that's what that's about.
Yeah.
Playing, so I got Eddie Van Halen's style, heavy metal.
Oh yeah.
And I've got Michael Hedges. So I want to come back to this Michael Hedges thing if we can get it done in the next 12 minutes. Top non-musical influence.
Ooh.
Just
that
one.
influenced your music, but is not
Top
musical.
Non-musical influence.
I don't even know how to answer that, man. I mean, if I think about who I am, non-musical. Comedy. Can I say comedy?
You sure can.
I mean, there's no wrong answers.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a big like if Lisa asked me, what do you want to watch? I'm never gonna choose a drama. I'm never gonna choose like a serious movie or a tearjerker or anything. I'm gonna go, hey, let's watch another episode of Frasier. I'm going straight to it. I mean, because I know that's going to make me laugh.
Or you're going to call me and say, let's watch Tropic Thunder together.
Dude, I've done that. And like, I'll call Chris and I go, Chris, dude, check out what I'm watching, and I'll take a picture, a screenshot of the TV and send it to Chris, and it'll be me watching like Austin Powers 2. Because that stuff, I'm going to enjoy the next little hour or two of my life. And I think that kind of gets into my personality. I don't like serious things a whole lot. I try to avoid them if I can. And if I get a chance to laugh, which is why this is so much fun right here, then I'm going to do that. And I think that is probably the most non-musical influence on me, is just fun. I want to laugh. I want to be silly. I want to quote lines from movies.
That makes so much sense to me as the behavioralist in the room and a good buddy of yours. Like, you love to joke around and just enjoy life, and music is a big part of that for you. And if you don't enjoy music, I don't see you really doing it. And so
I'm not going to enjoy it if I'm. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think comedy is a great answer.
Okay, good.
You pass the test.
Pass the test.
I am surprised that we don't hear that more often, because I've got some people I've played with, performed with for years, traveled with, who lean comedy outside of music. There's a certain level of expression and opinionism that goes in both of those things.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, creativity.
Creativity.
Yeah.
But also expression of what is now.
Yeah, and how we perceive that.
What is now? What's popular now? Yeah. How are you feeling now? What are the socio-political things of now? You have music and you have comedy, and they tend to express them on opposite ends. Before we dive into that, name one opinion. This is the last question of the Buddy Gauntlet. Name one opinion that has changed for you that used to be the opposite. It does not have to be musical. Tell me something, the most important opinion you've held where you've done a complete 180.
And we ask this because it's literally not musical at all, and it's about life, and that's what this podcast is about: community and culture, and collaboration and chemistry are 4 C's.
That's coming back to that. It's chemistry. Oh wow, it's a deep
tough question.
It's hard. It's meant to be hard. It's meant to do that.
I think the other questions should have been the gauntlet, the easy ones, and then these should have been the ones you sent me, like, No,
I'm not sending this.
Day or two.
This is the last one. Like, let's say you held a position in anything, and it doesn't have to be deep. This is about you changing your mind for whatever reason. It could be colors. Your favorite color could be blue, and the next day red. It could be political. It could be musical. It could be anything. It was something you held fast to this one thing. It was like, you know what? That's not how I feel. Because change is progress.
Change is progress, and change is the only constant in the world.
So they say.
That was a deep statement. Man, I don't know, because I've kind of stayed the same, same mindset, I think, for years and decades even. But I mean, who came up with that question?
It was him, not me.
Let me give you one of mine.
Give me one of yours.
I love
Pizza.
Onions, and I barely touch them anymore. I love them. I love them. Like Leilani would come up here and be like, "Hey, where's my onion, boy?" And I just don't eat them very much anymore. I love them. It can be that simple.
All right.
Or it can be some. Here
I got something simple. All right.
How excited!
Right. So I remember when I first got my apartment in college, I liked everything dark. Like I went to one of these fabric stores here in Roanoke. I'll never forget this. I went in and bought all this black cloth. And my apartment in Radford, I had put this black cloth over the window. My room stayed black as cave. I mean, like, you turn the lights
black
out.
as cave.
You turned out the lights, you weren't seeing nothing. I mean, it was dark black. But now it's like, here's one of the weird things, because if I come down into the kitchen in the morning, I'm getting ready. I mean, the first thing I do, I open the front door, I get the light in, I open up the blinds. I want light in the house.
I love that answer.
Up
do.
In the bedroom, I have, every morning I have the same little routine. Get out of the shower and I do this and I make up the bed and all these things, which is another thing. I didn't used to make a bed. I didn't think making up the bed made sense, because you're just going to get in and screw it up again. I want a freshly made bed when I get in it. That's a bizarre thing, as just being older. But I got to pull the curtains up. I got to get that light in the house. But I didn't used to do that. I used to it just had to be, forget the sun. I want dark. It's like, I'm going to hang upside down in the closet for a while or something.
Put that in there. This.
So I don't know. I can't. I could probably come up with more, but putting me on the spot, I get you.
Well, that is the nature. So the nature of the podcast is to discuss music and community and culture here in Roanoke. And I want to be clear. I thought about this earlier. This happened 3 times in the podcast. All we want to do here is expose our town and what we're doing here. There's a lot of music. There's a lot of people making livings and supplemental incomes, and there's so much, and that's the whole point.
No, and we have a lot to be thankful here. So let's be thankful for Mike Havens.
Yeah, whoa, before you sign off here, I mean, I think it's
I'm not saying close.
I thought you were going to close up, because I needed to say that
play your song.
This thing that you're doing here.
Before you do that, let me finish the thought.
Okay.
that it also, as much as I want to put us on the map and expose people here and let this be the launching pad that I hope that it is for young musicians, and a place for older musicians to come back and give to the younger musicians.
Yeah.
It still isn't that serious, and I want to know what it was that you changed about yourself, be it musical or not, because we don't talk about this.
Yeah.
We grow up, we make mistakes, and we act like they never happened. What we need to do is talk about positions we once held, and then we changed our mind. And it might be that you hated sunlight, you were a vampire, and the next day
In a cave.
you were Superman.
Well, I also used to wear a lot of just darker clothing. I
Darker
still
clothing.
wear like grays and blacks and things
Yeah.
and so forth.
So that's
But
not
there's more color now.
that's not meant to be serious. It's meant to be introspective, and
Because it's part of the personality that's changed.
it is.
Yeah.
As for me, it was onions. For you, it was sunlight and moonlight. It could be anything, but we should all be afforded the capacity to change our mind,
Yeah,
and that was the point.
Love it.
I do. I love it. So
You had a point, though.
Well, I was going to say this whole podcast thing that you guys are throwing together. It's huge. I mean, I get what and what you were just saying. You're exposing this area. This area is just extreme for what's in here. In terms
Chock
of
full.
talent.
Chock full.
Absolutely, it has been for decades.
Decades.
I keep seeing. I mean, I read posts all the time. I've got friends in this valley that have been playing music in here for over 30, 40 years. And I read their posts and stuff, and sometimes they'll put those, Throwback Thursday pics and stuff. I'm going, oh my God, you were playing, gigs back when I was like 2 years old even, and you're still out playing gigs. I mean, these guys like Tim Martin, Doug Settles, and all these other ones that have been in every band in this area and know everybody that's played in every band in this area, and it's been going on for a long time. Big stuff. Travis, I've been talking to you about the Iroquois Club. I mean, there was a scene there alone that ran this valley for, however many years. And the bands that toured through here, and all the bands that are like huge bands now, famous, but Green Day came to the Iroquois Club, and Bo Diddley and Guar and Testament, all these bands that were just like this big
Stuck Mojo.
and played the
Stuck
Iroquois Club.
Mojo.
You know?
No, there's
Tons.
a lot of appreciation that we bring with this podcast to this valley.
But you know
in
what I
that
think is
sense.
going to help with this? Because here's the last thing that I was going to add on to this thing is Roanoke is known for having these musical cliques. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And
We've talked about them.
A lot of people are not really fond of this thing because there are those cliques. Well, yeah, this is just a too cliquey of a town kind of thing. And I get that. I totally get that. But I think, honestly, what I've also learned from playing in town is it's easy to become part of those cliques, but it's also easy to get out of those cliques and become part of the other cliques in this town because everybody shares the one thing that we all share together is a different music. And as long as you are at least a little privy to kind of come out and try the different things in the different cliques, I mean, there's no reason. My thing right now, honestly, if I could, I would put everything on hold and just bounce around and play with. There's a lot of people in this town I've known for years musically, never played with musically. And I'm kind of pissed about that because I want to play with a lot of people and I can't play with a lot of people because they're either done or they're in another clique and you can't get them out of it, or I just don't have time to do it. That irritates me.
No, that's fair.
And it might be generational as well.
No, it could be.
We're getting a little older.
Sure.
But still.
I want to play with everybody.
No, and I love
least,
that.
At least for something, even if it's one gig. I mean, like these guys, this Celtic thing I'm doing. I mean, that's gonna be cool, but I think that's gonna be a one-time thing. I don't see that going on any further. But
No.
if it does, great. If it doesn't,
Music transcends a certain level of typical communion. Like, hey, we get together. Hey, let's talk. We can talk about the weather, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about we talk about the weather. Or we can talk with music, and that's what it's great to play with people about things.
we can talk about food.
Food.
Good.
I love food analogies to
This could
music.
become delicious dish. Salt,
This was a delicious podcast.
eggs.
Mike Havens, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for him. Man, really appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you guys for doing this. I
man.
appreciate it.
I'm drinking a beer.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce this song? It's Fear of Flying. You wrote it for your wife, right?
I haven't written a lot of original tunes over the years. and with all the years that I've been playing music, and only in the early 2000s was I kind of faced with having a challenge to kind of write my own CD. And there's a long story behind it, but this is one song that in particular instrumentally wrote for Lisa, because when I was living in Cincinnati, there was no coming. I mean, I was up to my ears in work. There was not a lot of opportunity to come home, but she had the opportunity to come up and visit. The only issue was she had to fly up, and the girl was, severely shaken up when it comes to being on planes.
Yeah.
Still kind of is. I mean, she can talk about getting on a plane and start getting kind of short of breath. But she did it. She did it every other couple of weekends or something. She came up and visited for 2 solid years. She just, she got over her fear to come up and spend time with me. And, when I was putting together a CD after I moved back to Roanoke, I mean, that was just one thing I had to do, was at least put some kind of music together that kind of summed up my appreciation for her getting over that, to come and just spend a day and a half with me for the weekend.
Sure.
And then getting on a plane and flying back to Roanoke and then doing a solid week of work or something. So yeah, that's Fear of Flying.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Havens, Fear of Flying. This is Beats, Brews, and Buddies. I'm Travis Schmidt, and this is
Jeremy Price. Thanks for coming, Mike.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you guys.